Doctor Who, Series 11, Episode 1, The Woman Who Fell to Earth. The first episode in the new series starring Jodie Whittaker as the 13th iteration of the Doctor. Well, currently, as I say this, I've not seen the episode yet. I've tried not to look at any spoilers or anything like that. I want to go completely open-minded, but you've already seen the episode already and want to see what I think, so that's what I'm going to be doing. We're going to watch the episode, tell you exactly what I think, how, like, character development, all of the assistants, what's going on, but all this new baddie. I'm hoping it's not just, like, another, like, Dalek, even though it'd be nice to see him again. But either way, let's see what I'll be telling you what I think, and I want to hear what you think of the new Doctor, of the first female Doctor. Tell me in the comment section below. But like I say, let's just cut the chit chat. Let's talk about it. Let's just go straight into this head first, like I say, open-minded, not going to have any kind of prejudices or anything like that, saying, oh, it's a woman, I don't want to do it. No, you know, if Chris Chibnall, as far as I'm aware, if Chris Chibnall, I think that's his name, is a good writer, better than, like, or was a showrunner, better showrunner than Stephen Moffat, I will be happy, and that's all I really want. So let's have a look at this hour-long episode. So the episode begins with what we come to realise is Ryan Sinclair, who's he's one of the assistants. Basically, the first 10 minutes is really just getting to know her little team and, you know, their little quirks and kind of like where they can go with their story arcs. Ryan's probably my favourite person. I think we're all gonna have the idea is that we're all gonna have our favourite companion. There's this thing about that he's kind of trying to ride a bike, and you know, I'll get to the ending at the end, but he kind of comes around full circle, which is a nice way to do it. And he's like talking on YouTube, kind of like I'm talking to you now, but he's talking about what you think is the Doctor, but it turns out to be his nan, so I suppose that was a nice twist. There's a whole electric thing and we don't really know what's going on. We kind of assume at this point that it's the Doctor that's going to be going through this like time portal thing, or the portal, which it might have been like the time portal you could have thought. That's what I kind of thought. I was like, it's either a baddie or it's going to be the Doctor, and I had no idea. So Ryan sees these little shaped things. Again, like the kind of like the cinematography and the whole like the effects they use are actually really good in this series. So good so far, good first episode, good. So yeah, and then the pod comes through. We again don't really know what this is. It's at this, the first 10 minutes is really, or the first beginning of this episode is really good at building the tension. That's what I'm going to say. It really builds tension very well. In previous episodes, it got like in the old series of Peekabody and like maybe even Matt Smith, but it got boring. It got to the point where it's just too much, and maybe it was a little bit slow. But this was an hour-long episode, so they had a lot to do with it. So basically, Ryan is the kind of, I would say he was the main, well, for this episode at least, he was the main assistant. You seemed like I think his arc's going to be he was underestimated. He's not really done anything with his life, and he kind of gives up too soon. That's where I can see his arc going. Then there's Yasmin Khan, who's a police officer who's doing pretty well, but she's kind of being held back. But she has still done pretty well for herself to be like a police officer. So you can see that she's like another strong woman that's done, you know, that's just being held back. And now with the Doctor, that she's gonna, hopefully she's gonna, her arc will probably be something like, oh, she's being able to do all these things that she can finally do, as opposed to discovering that she can do them like Ryan. And then, but she's also connected to Ryan as well, which I suppose is like another connection to him, which leads me to feel that he is again like the main assistant. And then there's Graham, who's like Bradley Walsh, who was hilarious as well. I really like Bradley Walsh, but that's just him as an actor. He's probably the only one I actually knew, like, because I've seen his other stuff like The Chase. And he was married to their nan, who the acting I wasn't too crazy about. I wasn't crazy about the nan's acting, but then again, consider what happens at the end of this episode, you know, there wasn't much that they could really do with her. And there was this really beautiful, like, more awkward exchange between Ryan and Yaz, kind of like, oh, well, you know, you should have done a bit more of your life. Kind of like, it draws me back to with Rose in Series 1, when everybody was just like, oh, well, she's done nothing interesting with her life, and now he's gonna, you know, then she went out and did all these really interesting things, and she was like a really big thing. She meant a lot. She, you know, the whole universe was based around her, and that's what I can see around the same thing of Ryan, which I really like. I like the fact that it's not just all about the Doctor. There's, you know, there's so many more layers. You know, how it's been for the last couple of years is just, it's mainly been all about the Doctors. The assistants are interchangeable. But with Ryan, it seems like it's going to be a lot about him, or as much about him as it is about the Doctors. And I kind of get this feel now that it's going to be all about the adventure as opposed to, oh, we just go out for a day, how it has been. Like, I really don't like the thing where it's like, you know, was with Peter Capaldi and started with Matt Smith. It was, oh, well, you know, we're not going to go out for years. We just, you know, just take you out to this adventure and be home by dinner time. I did not like that. If you're a fan, then tell me, but I really didn't like that. It didn't really give this whole sense of urgency or a sense of adventure as in they were growing. It kind of felt, oh, well, you know, this is just part of my life instead of the whole of my life. And now you have this, you have like the search for the TARDIS. It was just a really nice touch. As well as you really felt, like, the characters as well, it was really good. All of the characters in this whole entire episode, you really felt for them as well, which, considering you only saw, like, the characters that die in this episode, you really only see very little of them, apart from the Nan who dies, but, like, she gets a bit more screen time. But the others, it builds it up within the little bits of dialogue that they have. You kind of feel for them as well, which is a really nice, it's really well written, and, you know, I've got to say, so far I'm really impressed by this episode. Perfect example of this is the granddad, I forget his name, the granddad that died. He was literally just only like, I think, 10 words of dialogue, or even less than a minute of screen time. He was talking to his granddaughter, and he just died by this alien. And it's just, you know that there's a, you know his granddaughter Daisy, you know that he's lost all this, and he was just being a nice guy, and you really feel for him as well, which is a really sad, but at the same time it was really well done. And, you know, that's something that the series haven't had before. It hasn't done it as well executed as this episode did. DNA bombs were a really nice effect. It was dangerous and it's scary as well to think something like that could actually be in your DNA. It could just explode at any time. That was it's like a nice new feature. But you don't really even think that we finally meet the Doctor. There's a little bit of the theme tune, but not the entire way through. I mean, was I the only one that was thinking, alright, come on, we gotta hear the theme tune. We gotta hear the theme tune. Really want to hear the theme tune. And it just never came. But I suppose at the halfway through the episode, I'm like, okay, well, we'll just have to hear it at the end. But anyway, so you kind of think like you may have thought that there was a lot of haters out there that was thinking, oh, like, she's a woman, she's going to be all, like, womanly towards it, but I didn't really get that from her. I kind of thought at this point that she was, like, yeah, like, she was, like, a bit, she was really funny, she's a bit ditzy, but at the same time, the whole regeneration, again, they didn't ignore that. They kind of brought some new life to the regeneration process as well when she was talking about. She actually really went in depth, and this is what I liked about this particular episode. This, like, 2 minutes that she was talking about has never been addressed before. She's really just going in depth, because people say the doctors have said before, oh, it's just about changing, like, your DNA changing and things like that, but not really said what it feels like. You really got a sense of how she felt. She was saying that it was like screaming and it was burning, and she felt like she couldn't decide who she was, and echoes of like who she was and who she's going to be, and intuition. It's just a really nice way that she did that, so I liked that. And then she built her sonic screwdriver. Again, that was pretty cool as well, so it's kind of like a new sonic gun. The only issue I really had was she was still walking around in Peter Capaldi's clothes, and it just seemed to fit her, and like, no way was her clothes gonna fit her. That's the only kind of thing that I have. I mean, the regeneration only affects her, it doesn't affect her clothes. So yeah. So let's come on to the brand new baddie. I'm glad that we didn't we stuck with a new baddie. Like, there's normally a new baddie in like the first episodes. You kind of get a feeling like of us thinking. I'm not sure if he's going to be one that keeps reoccurring. I wouldn't mind if he did keep reoccurring. He's one of those baddies I was like, maybe, like, you know, we just know him, we didn't know his entire race, so maybe there's a little bit more that we could know about that. I personally liked him. First I thought it was like, he looked a bit like a Cyberman. I thought that was a bit of a rip-off. Then he realised it's like a teeth alien thingy, and I was like, okay, well, that's scarier. That's better. So Sim Shaw, or Tim Shaw, as Jodie Whittaker kept saying, it was, you know, that's nothing that just go off tangent for a bit. Like, the comedy as well, it was funny because the characters were funny. The situations weren't funny, but the characters were funny, and that's how it should be. Like, the situations want to be scary, they want to be action-packed, they want to be tense, but the people want to be the characters were the people which need to bring the comedy. So, for example, when Matt Smith jumping out of the stag cake, that was a situation that was funny, but it just didn't need to be. It just ended up being stupid. And I suppose you go back to the first series of the Slovene and the farting. That, you know, I find that funny, but at the same time that's a situational comedy as opposed to, you know, the comedy coming from the characters. And I like this. It means that we can be fun. It means it can be fun and intense at the same time, and you never lose that sense of urgency or fun. Or for example, when David Tennant in his first episode, he starts quoting The Lion King, and he's like, "Wait, that's from The Lion King." And it's like, what? That's again like a character trying to re-find himself, and he's on this alien spaceship. But anyway, that's an old series. Let's get back to this one. So what happens next? And then, so we get the meeting with Sim Shaw. We get him again. So it wasn't a war. We at first think it's a war, but it's not. It turns out it's not a war, and it seems like, again, more layers, which is good. I think that Chris Chibnall was really trying to show that he's a good writer, and he can throw you off and twists and turns at every single minute, and that's what he did. He kept making us think, what is this, like, why? And he really, like I said before, he really built up the tension. He got you thinking what could possibly happen. You didn't know what was going to happen, or what was going to happen next, or what this thing was. So it turned out what Sim Shaw was doing was sending up this tentacle thingy to kind of cheat and find the trophy, which ended up being a human, so that he could kind of essentially use intergalactic GPS to find this human and then come back and hunt him down and then kill him and bring him back as a trophy. So that's like another interesting new feat. It wasn't like an alien invasion, it was just a hunt, which was which again was a bit of a twist as well, and something that the series hasn't really done before. Sim Shaw seemed to kill everybody apart from the Doctor and the team. It's like, why? Why didn't you even try to kill them? You had a chance to kill them, but you didn't kill them. It's like, why? It doesn't really become clear at the end why he even kills them anyway. But he just kills everybody else apart from them. It just seems so easy for him to kill, but he doesn't. That's, you know, the only reason why I can say is like why he didn't is plot. And that's not really a good reason not to kill somebody. There should be a reason why you didn't, and it should be very clear. And that's one thing, that's an issue that's the first issue that I have with this episode. Again, another thing that makes it look like a Cyberman is when he touched them, like a blue thing came out. It turned out that it was the freezing, and we've never really had someone that's probably frozen to death as far as I can remember in the series. So freezing a nice way instead of electricity, but it did seem very Cyberman-ish. So then we come to the big action scene, the big climax with the cranes, and it wasn't overly sci-fi, it was more realistic, giving it a bit more of a realistic feel, kind of a throwback to with Christopher Eccleston when Billie Piper, she swung on the cranes. It's all industrial and things like that. It wasn't overly spacey. There was an alien, and there was some like acrobatics, and you know there was a lot. It seemed like there was a lot at stake. It was dangerous. You really got a sense of danger, like at this big climax, and it was all this tension of the last 45 minutes was building up to this part, and then we get the bit. Then there's the big bit, the standoff, where the Doctor has the coil. The recoil, the transmitter coil, not saying because she's a woman, she's a coil, but anyway, and then and then on Sim Shaw's side, he has the DNA bombs. But it turns out that she had switched it anyway, so it didn't really matter, but you did get a sense of urgency. There was that sense of, oh, you know, if you do that, I'm going to do this. So the Doctor wasn't like going to say, okay, I'm not going to kill you, I'm going to make you kill yourself, which is a better way for the Doctor to deal with things. This is how the Doctor deals with things, and it was very Doctor Who-esque for them to resolve it that way. However, one thing did happen though, another issue that I had. Kyle used a teleport to send Sim Shaw back to where he came from. And then the Doctor said this line, this throwaway line, and she was, well, it wasn't throwaway, there was a big meaning behind it, but it was, the way that it came across was throwaway. She's like, you didn't have any right to do that, as in saying to Kyle, you had no right to teleport back, or make him teleport back, or him leave, or something like that. It wasn't overly clear. That's where another thing, that it seemed like the ending was a bit rushed. That part of it. Normally when, like, if we go back to David Tennant and when he regenerated, and he was like, you know, what kind of person I am. I'm a no second chances kind of person. You got a real sense of urgency and seriousness. You got a little glimpse of Jodie Whittaker's character then, saying you had no right to do that, but then nothing to follow it up. You didn't really get the same kind of feeling. So at this point, you know, she's like really fun and like really funny, but at the same time, where's the arc? Where's her character going? I know she's still regenerating, but you kind of needed some kind of bit more depth of her character. I'm hoping that maybe in the next 10 episodes they're going to really flesh that out, that we're going to have some kind of reason to think like she's more than meets the eye, a bit more layers. But that was really skimmed over, and there was no real consequences or no real follow-up because the Nan fell from the big height and died. And then Graham, like, somehow she was able to say a few more words. Didn't really seem like she was in that much pain when she was speaking to Graham, or Bradley Walsh. That's what I mean, like, you could kind of tell that coming. I think the idea behind it was better than the execution. The idea was, okay, no one's safe, anybody can die. We've got this big death in the very first episode of like a main character, kind of, you know, how Game of Thrones or The Walking Dead is like, anyone could die, no one is safe, giving you that. But you kind of, if they wouldn't have revealed all of the assistants, then you would have known, or just had her as an assistant. Like, well, no, she's not, she's dead. That would have been a bit more of a giveaway. You could have just thought, okay, like, that she's not going with them. Like, whether you would have thought that she would die is another level. But at the same time, you kind of knew, if anybody's just been reading up on the news or anything like that, you knew that these are the assistants. They're the 3 people that are going with her, not this Nan. And then they had the funeral, which was really nice. The Doctor stuck around as well, which was unusual. Normally the Doctor's just like, oh, I want to leave as soon as possible. I suppose they kind of had the whole recall. Maybe this is just another part of her character that she's going to stay around for a bit more. Again, Chris Chibnall's writing is that the human element, the actual making you feel for their characters, as opposed to they've died, they're dead, that's the end of it. I suppose it's nice having those different levels of the assistants, because now that we've got different, like, kind of different people, so I suppose they want the audience to connect with different, like, ages of people, like trying to connect with different assistants. So for the older generation, you're supposed to connect with Bradley Walsh. For the younger, you've got Yaz, or you've got Ryan. So that was a nice thing. Like, now you've got the whole, okay, well, he's travelling with his granddad, whereas opposed to before, with David Tennant, he's like, okay, well, I'll take you, Donna, but I'm not going to take your granddad, who was the guy from Right Said Fred. So you finally get to the ending where the Doctor's just about to leave, she's just about to go, and she doesn't want to take them with her. But of course, plot means they're going to go with her, and also it's normal conventions that they would come with her. And it was a nice, I kind of thought it was just going to end with the TARDIS coming to them, and then she would take them in the TARDIS, but instead they all left, and they just went over to this new alien world, which is a nice touch. It kind of linked it. It's not going to feel like, I don't think it's going to feel like a 2-parter, but I feel like it's kind of connecting the episodes from episode to episode, so it's not just like a bunch of events that are happening and you only see little snippets, you're going to see their whole entire journey. But that's what happened. And then another big problem, like another really big problem I have, the music. You know, we were all waiting for the big soundtrack, like the big theme tune to come. The Doctor Who theme tune is a classic, it's a staple, we all look forward to it. It was terrible. It was really bad. Like, it just felt like it was empty. I'm hoping that that wasn't actually the proper one, but it feels like it was. It feels like that they've kind of half-assed the music. They spent all the budget on these big effects and the cinematography, and they're like, well, who the hell are we going to get for the sound guy? Just rehash all the old ones and just, you know, put it all together. Maybe what they're going for is that she's currently missing her TARDIS, so the music is definitely missing something as well. It's missing the like the whole, just the good bits of it. It's kind of like half done. Like this series at the moment, that first episode seemed like, you know, it's not quite there yet, but we're gonna, you know, build as we go along. We're gonna get better as we go along. Maybe that's what they're going for, but if it is, I'm really underwhelmed. Just was not impressed with it at all. It felt tinny, didn't feel like a epic or anything like that. I mean, the last one, the Peter Capaldi one, was really good. Liked that one. Even the old ones, even like the first couple of series, liked those ones as well. It's just, this was a bad choice of song. If it is, hopefully it's not. Hopefully I'm, you know, next week I'm like, oh no, we're back to like the good theme song. And then afterwards the whole next time. And they went in completely the opposite direction. Okay, last series, season 10 with Peter Capaldi, we kind of saw like loads of spot spoilers. That's exactly what people said. We said we hated all of the spoilers. And then they showed you that John Sim was going to come back, and it's like, well, why are you telling me this? Why? Why would you say that? This is like, oh yeah, and the last episode, yeah, Simon going to be in it as well. So why would you tell us that? Why would you say what's going to happen? Now we know that he's going to come back, so that was really bad of them, and I hated that, absolutely hate that. But now, they've gone completely the opposite direction. They've got no reason for you to keep watching, in the sense that, apart from, like, maybe they're just trying to keep everything secret. Like, you have to watch, it's going to be an adventure, you're going to find out together, you don't know what you're going to expect. So that's why they just had the celebrities. But they could have just showed some kind of snippets on, okay, this season there's going to be like, these these baddies, and just really something for you to get excited about. And I just wasn't, you know, we saw the celebrities like Lee Mack are going to be in it, but I just wasn't like, huh? I was like, well, why are you telling me the celebrity? I don't really care what celebrities, I care about the story, I care about what baddies, what aliens are going to be in it. So why have you completely missed out on that bit? That's the only thing I can think of. It's just going to be like an adventure, because that's what I feel at the moment. That's what it is. It's like we're going to discover this together. We're going to find out all these new worlds, all these new baddies and everything together, and we're then not going to give away anything. And I hope that they kind of do. I prefer that as opposed to Johnson, it's going to be the last episode. It's going to be a Sideman episode. But no, I'm glad they haven't done that. So before we get to me rating this episode on the Who-ometer out of 10. Just what I think of each character. So Ryan Sinclair, liked him. He's a good character. I think there's like going to be a bit of an arc there. You kind of feel for him as well because he's lost his nan. Bradley Walsh, always loved him. Like he's a fantastic character, fantastic actor. He brought on the comedy as well. A bit sarcastic, liked it. Yasmin Khan, or the officer. Yeah, I think that. Maybe I wasn't really paying attention too much, but they didn't get too much from her, so I think there's more to discover, so I'm excited about that. And finally, the Doctor. What do I think of the Doctor? Personally, I honestly didn't. Her being a woman doesn't matter at all, and that's exactly what they were going for. It was the story, it's the way she holds the Doctor. I want there to be more of an arc. I want there to be more of, like, you know, depth, and not just, oh, you know, I'm funny, I can make jokes and it's not that serious. You know, be a bit clumsy, be like that, but at the same time you need those layers. Like onions, like from Shrek, you need those other layers. I'm hoping they're going to flesh them out for the next 10 episodes because there are only 11 episodes in this series. So I'm really hoping they're going to do that. But yeah, I was liking it and liking the new costume as well. I mean, there was a bit of a speech going back to when they had like the cranes and that. It's like, you know, it's just different. You know, you can still be the same person, but just kind of change who you are and grow as a person. That was kind of like, you kind of tell that was like, okay, I'm now the new Doctor. I'm the same person, but at the same time, I'm different and I have like different goals, but I'm still the same. I'm true to myself. That will kind of felt it's a bit tongue-in-cheek. Maybe they shouldn't have had that bit in there. You know, because you kind of tell for yourself, but it did seem like that. But anyway, I liked Jodie Whittaker, and apart from like a few problems like with the episode, and like just at the end of the day, it's different, but it's different in the good way. I wouldn't say it was like as good as the very old series, but then again, the first episode of Series 1 of Doctor Who, the very first series, like with Christopher Eccleston, wasn't fantastic. You know, this was different, but good. So I'm gonna put this. I'm going to place this out of 10. Tell me if you agree with me. Tell me what you would rate this episode out of 10. I'm going to give it 7 out of 10. As in, not the best, you know. There are still issues with it. But it was good. I enjoyed it. I'd probably watch it again. Which is a, you know, normally, like over the last couple of seasons. Apart from season how I probably would have watched most of that. I haven't rewatched them. I've just completely refused to watch series 5 to 8 or 9 because they were just bad. But I like the episodes. So that's what I think. 7 out of 10 is what I'm going to give this one. It could go up or down, so it's kind of nicely in the middle. It was a good episode. It's leaning more towards the good. But what do you think? Tell me in the comment section below. Before you do that, make sure you subscribe to Planet Month. For each episode, we're going to be going through another Doctor Who review. Doctor Who or whatever you want to call it. But yeah, so make sure you subscribe to Planet Monk and hit a bell notification to be told the next great upload. Share and like this video. Follow us on Twitter at PlanetMarkVlog or Facebook.com/PlanetMarkVlog. See you next time, guys. Bye 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 bye.